When Sacred Heart Junior College was founded in 1933, the number one purpose behind its founding was to provide teachers, not only for the Wichita area, but for the whole entire state of Kansas, and primarily among religious orders of women. It's these individuals who needed to have the credentials to be able to go in the classrooms. It was fulfilling a need. We always have made sure that that educational product over the years has provided a strong foundation in the liberal arts, because you have to cover all those subject areas as you teach in our classrooms and among the young people today. When I look to today, and then I step back and do a historical synopsis of what's happened over the years, one of the things I note is that the education department has always moved to fulfill the need at that time. If we needed a 4-year program, we moved to a 4-year program. Today, we have partnered with many of the community colleges and provide those final 2 years that they need to provide teachers for their particular area, whether it's in the public schools or within the Catholic schools. I think this is a great service that we're doing, and I think it would really parallel exactly what our founders wanted to have happen.
Teachers in our world are the people with the most hope, because they spend their days with children who have not yet learned that they should not have hope and should not be excited about life.
The philosophies and beliefs of the sisters who founded Sacred Heart College in 1933 are the same values and beliefs that permeate the educational programs at Newman University today. These values and beliefs are based on our understanding of the person as a unique individual who must grow not only in mental and physical ways, but also in spiritual and moral dimensions. It's based on the idea that a liberal arts education best embodies those aspects of an education that will help the person throughout their life to continue to grow.
The ASC sisters who founded this college back in 1933 had a very holistic sense of the person. The Catholic social teaching tells us to be committed to the dignity of the human person. So they believed very much in this meaning of service and taught the students of this university to be of service to their society. They also believed in nurturing life, which meant that in all ways we learn every day how to nurture life in our society.
The early sisters believed in divine providence, trusted in divine providence to provide when they had no other way to provide. Today, yes, the university believes in divine providence. It may be expressed differently, however, because we now ask resources, friends, benefactors to also be that source and provide for what we expect from divine providence.
Belief in the divine providence of God is something that is very characteristic of my religious community and all the people who work with us and have been taught by us and who are amongst our family and friends. Those who don't believe soon come to believe. I think it's because we all realize that many of the miracles that we experience in an institution like Newman University are beyond our individual or even our group powers, and we know that God has to be working with us to accomplish some of the wonderful things we've seen over these 75 years.
From the very beginning, our sisters believed in the empowerment of the individual, in helping at that time, many immigrants to develop their full potential through education. They also trusted in divine providence, that if this was God's work, that indeed there would be resources that would be provided. They were also very willing to work very hard. In the early years, they performed not only the teaching, but they also did the other tasks required in a higher education institution. And I see that continued in our faculty and staff today.
When the sisters began Sacred Heart College in 1933, their efforts were toward enabling our students, motivating our students to go out into their own careers, whatever those might be, and make a difference, reaching out to persons with particular needs, whether it's children in the classroom who needed education, whether it was patients in a hospital who needed their help. But that sense that their education was not only for themselves, but it was to enable them to reach out and make a difference in society. So this idea of empowerment was there, even though we used different words. But we motivated our students, we encouraged our students to move out and make a difference.
The concept of empowering people to transform society, that's something that I said has been with us, but I think it was also present in those early individuals. If they're depending upon the divine providence, they're trusting that things are going to happen. They were risking all, but why were they? They were doing it because they were convinced that the educational product produced here at this university was going to be an empowerment of that individual. Call it whatever you want. Call it change, a growth process that they would go through. But it would happen. They'd be empowered. And why? Because there were things in society that needed to be changed. You had to get to the bottom, the root. Call it systemic change today in all of our terms that we use, but it was that basic underground issues we needed to make a difference.
The mission of the Adorers of the Blood of Christ, a mission of service in the world, is very much a part of the mission of Newman University. And this is carried out not only in our educational programs, which make that service very tangible, whether it's a mission of teaching, a career in nursing, a pre-medical program, a social work program, or in the activities that we engage our students in giving service in the community in various activities, whether it's doing mission trips to help in a Franciscan mission in Mexico, or whether it's working with the poor in our own city. In whatever way they can know that they have a responsibility to give back to society the benefits of their education at Newman.
Over the last 75 years, there are so many programs, activities that have been provided for students that are a way in which they carry out here on our campus, as well as later in life, the very values and the beliefs that are a part of our mission and our philosophy. As we ended the 1990s, we started a new program. We couldn't have maybe started it earlier because that was the time in which this was a new thing in the educational process. But it had been something that we had been trying to do for many years before, and that was to bring in service learning on our campus. Service learning provides the opportunity for many of our students to actually begin to live a life of service. They're even offered scholarships, just like an athlete would or a music performer would be, helping them to make their way through college. We provide a scholarship so that they can give service. This service might be in Mexico, might be in Guatemala, could be that it's right in our backyard. It's some way in which those students start living a habit of service that they'll be able to carry out in their life and that they will make a difference. I believe this program, maybe more than any other program that we have at this university, is something that we should be very proud of and that we should continue to have as something that makes Newman stand apart.
For Newman University to remain viable and to continue the mission that we began in 1933, we have to maintain our ability to create a community of scholars on this campus. Higher education and the ability to help students learn means that the faculty and staff have to come together and continue in their learning process. The ability to create a community of scholars is something most people in higher education, faculty and staff, are eager to do. And we need to do it also in the context of a global society. Our world has shrunken in terms of its ability to communicate with each other because of technology. So we need to think far beyond our borders as we come together as that community of scholars. We live in a very rapidly changing environment and world. And for our students to take up the challenge we give them to transform society means we need to work with them while they're here as faculty and staff to give them the skills and the abilities and the motivation to leave here and be transforming agents in our society that will help us reach for the common good.
When I hear the words divine providence, the first thing I think of is St. Maria de Matthias. And the reason that's true is whether or not she really authored a prayer that we call the Divine Providence Prayer, we know that this woman turned to the providence of God throughout her entire existence. She wrote hundreds and hundreds of letters. If I had to stop and count how many times she mentions the providence of God, it would almost be one for every letter, and sometimes 2 or 3 times in a letter. How does that carry over into the belief that the individuals, when they founded the college, it's a spirit that's there? Maria de Matthias, as well as Beata Nettemeyer and Monsignor McNeil, when they start this university, there's a risk factor. They were willing to risk because they believed that God in providence would be there to provide whatever needs they had. There's so many stories that could be told that illustrate this. And there are still moments today when the president of the college or someone else, maybe a faculty member, actually stop and say, I felt the providence of God.